That faint ticking you heard this morning might have just saved your engine, or it might be the first warning that a repair bill worth several $1,000s is already beginning. Here's what surprises most drivers. Engines almost never fail without warning. Long before the check engine light appears or the vehicle leaves you stranded, they communicate through sound. The problem is that many of those sounds seem so common that people convince themselves they're normal. They turn up the radio, keep driving, and hope the noise disappears. Weeks later, they're staring at a repair estimate that's worth more than the car itself. Today, I'm revealing 7 engine noises that countless drivers ignore every day, what each one actually means, and which sound should make you shut the engine off immediately before catastrophic damage occurs. Paying attention to these warning signs could be the difference between a simple repair and replacing your entire engine. If you enjoy learning how to protect your vehicle from expensive repairs before they happen, subscribe to Car Care Expert and turn on notifications, because every week we expose hidden automotive problems, maintenance mistakes, and practical repair advice that helps you keep your vehicle reliable while saving thousands in unnecessary repair costs. Let's get started. Number 7 is cold start piston slap. On many older high-mileage engines, especially aluminum block designs, it's common to hear a hollow tapping or slapping sound for the first few seconds after a cold start. As the engine warms up, the pistons expand slightly, reducing the clearance between the piston skirt and the cylinder wall, causing the noise to disappear. That's why so many drivers dismiss it as perfectly normal. But here's the catch: when that sound becomes noticeably louder, lasts longer than usual, or begins occurring even after the engine has warmed up, it's often telling you that internal engine wear has progressed much further than it should have. Excessive piston movement gradually scuffs the cylinder walls, increases oil consumption, and reduces compression. Left untreated, what began as a harmless morning noise can eventually develop into permanent engine damage, requiring a complete rebuild. The earlier you investigate changing engine behavior, the more options you'll have before repairs become extremely expensive. Coming in at number 6 is a chirping or squealing serpentine belt. Almost everyone has heard this sound. You start the engine on a damp morning and a sharp squeal fills the air for a few seconds before disappearing. Many drivers assume it's nothing more than an old belt and continue driving without another thought. Sometimes they're right, but not always. That same squeal can also indicate a weak belt tensioner, worn idler pulley bearings, a failing alternator bearing, or even the early stages of a water pump failure. The serpentine belt powers several critical engine accessories. If one seized pulley suddenly locks up, the belt can snap without warning. That means your alternator stops charging the battery, your water pump may stop circulating coolant, and your engine temperature can rise rapidly. What started as an occasional squeak can quickly leave you stranded on the side of the road with an overheated engine and a repair bill far larger than the cost of replacing a worn belt or pulley during routine maintenance. Number 5 is hydraulic lifter ticking. A light ticking noise coming from the top of the engine is one of the most commonly ignored sounds in the automotive world. Many owners hear it every morning and assume that's simply how older engines sound. While hydraulic lifters can briefly tick during cold starts as oil pressure builds, persistent ticking should never be ignored. Low engine oil, incorrect oil viscosity, clogged oil passages, sludge buildup, worn lifters, or declining oil pressure can all prevent the lifters from maintaining proper valve clearance. Over time, that repeated metal-to-metal contact accelerates wear on the camshaft lobes, rocker arms, and valve train components. Performance gradually suffers, fuel economy may decline, and eventually the repair becomes far more involved than replacing a single lifter. Regular oil changes using the correct oil specification remain one of the simplest ways to reduce valve train wear and help prevent these problems before they begin. At number 4 is timing chain rattle during startup. Few engine noises deserve more immediate attention than a metallic rattling sound coming from the front of the engine immediately after startup. In many modern engines, this is an early warning that the timing chain tensioner is no longer maintaining proper chain tension. As oil pressure builds, the tensioner temporarily tightens the chain and the noise disappears, causing drivers to believe everything is fine. Unfortunately, the underlying problem continues getting worse. A stretched timing chain, worn guides, or a failing hydraulic tensioner allows the chain to move excessively, increasing the risk of skip timing. On interference engines, even a single tooth of timing error can allow valves and pistons to collide, bending valves, damaging pistons, and sometimes destroying the cylinder head. Repairing a worn timing chain system early is dramatically less expensive than rebuilding an engine after catastrophic timing failure. That brief rattle lasting only a second or two may be giving you one of the most valuable warnings your engine will ever provide. Number 3 is spark knock, also known as detonation. Have you ever accelerated up a hill or merged onto the highway and heard a rapid metallic pinging sound coming from the engine? Many drivers blame low-quality gasoline, turn up the radio, and keep driving. That's one of the worst decisions you can make. Spark knock occurs when the air-fuel mixture ignites uncontrollably instead of burning smoothly after the spark plug fires. Instead of one controlled flame front, multiple pressure waves collide inside the combustion chamber, creating tiny shock waves that repeatedly hammer the piston crown, connecting rods, and crankshaft bearings. Over time, those violent pressure spikes can crack piston ringlands, damage piston crowns, accelerate bearing wear, and even contribute to head gasket failure. Modern engines often retard ignition timing when knock is detected, but that doesn't eliminate the underlying cause. Carbon buildup, overheating, incorrect fuel octane, failing knock sensors, vacuum leaks, or ignition problems can all trigger detonation. If you hear pinging under acceleration, don't ignore it. Diagnosing the cause early can prevent thousands of dollars in engine repairs while restoring both performance and fuel economy. Coming in at number 2 is connecting rod knock. This is the sound every experienced mechanic hopes never to hear. Unlike the light ticking of a hydraulic lifter, rod knock produces a deep, rhythmic metallic knocking that becomes louder as engine speed increases or when the engine is placed under load. By the time this noise becomes noticeable, the protective bearing material between the connecting rod and crankshaft has already worn significantly. Every rotation of the crankshaft allows the connecting rod to strike against the journal with increasing force, sending metal particles throughout the lubrication system. Those particles don't stay confined to one bearing, they circulate through the engine, accelerating wear on other bearings, the oil pump, and additional moving components. Continue driving, and the bearing may eventually spin inside the connecting rod, blocking oil flow completely. In the worst-case scenario, the connecting rod can break free and punch through the side of the engine block, instantly turning a repairable engine into scrap metal. If you hear a genuine rod knock, continuing to drive is gambling with the entire engine. The safest decision is to shut the engine off and have it inspected immediately. Taking the number 1 spot is a deep knock caused by low oil pressure. Few warning signs indicate imminent engine failure more clearly than a heavy knocking sound accompanied by an oil pressure warning light or noticeably reduced oil pressure. Engine oil creates a microscopic protective film between moving metal surfaces. When oil pressure falls because of low oil level, a failing oil pump, clogged pickup screen, severe bearing wear, or internal oil leaks, that protective film begins disappearing almost immediately. Without adequate lubrication, crankshaft bearings, camshaft bearings, connecting rods, and other critical components begin contacting each other directly. Friction and heat increase rapidly, turning what started as a lubrication issue into catastrophic mechanical damage. Some drivers make the mistake of adding oil and continuing their trip, believing the problem has been solved. Unfortunately, if bearing damage has already begun, simply topping off the oil may not reverse the wear that has already occurred. A heavy knock combined with low oil pressure is one of the clearest signals to stop driving immediately. Continuing for even a few more miles can transform a relatively contained repair into the need for a complete replacement engine. Ignoring unusual noises rarely saves money. In fact, the opposite is almost always true. Small mechanical problems become expensive because they're allowed to continue damaging surrounding components. A worn tensioner eventually destroys a belt. A stretched timing chain eventually damages valves. Low oil pressure eventually ruins bearings. Detonation eventually weakens pistons. The engine usually tells you exactly what's wrong long before complete failure occurs. You simply have to listen. If you've ever heard one of these engine noises, drop a comment below and tell us which sound it was and what the repair ended up costing. Don't forget to subscribe to Car Care Expert and turn on notifications, because every week we uncover hidden automotive problems, practical maintenance tips, and honest repair advice that helps you avoid expensive breakdowns while keeping your vehicle running reliably for years to come.